What's going on, everybody? Justin here. So, I want to talk about something that I think is very important to me. Now, I know school started about 2 weeks ago, I believe, and there's some advice I wanted to pass on to kids that are in the school system now. So, I've always believed in the expression be the person that you needed to, as like a guide when you were growing up. So, that's what I'm going to do today. I'm gonna get pass on some advice that I could have really used when I was growing up. So where am I exactly going with this? I'm talking about the school system. One of my problems with the school system is I feel that the school system just really puts way too much pressure on our kids today. You know, and I think that's honestly what a lot of the problem with just the newer generations are. It's not them iPads and smartphones like all the older people want to talk about. I just think we put way too much pressure on these kids. They pretty much. One of the things I always hated was they were like, whatever you are on right now in this day and age is what you're going to be for the rest of your life. Let me tell you something. No, you're not. I am so not the same person I was when I was in high school or middle school or elementary school. I also really hated some of the slimy manipulation tactics they like to use. I can remember one of my personal favorites was in fourth grade. We took a standards of learning writing test. And I don't remember the exact wording, but they basically tried to imply that if you failed it, you weren't going to get into college. Trust me, no college gives a rat's ass what you did in elementary school. Because you were a kid. You so aren't the same person at 10 or 11 that you were, when you're 18, 19 years old. I know I certainly wasn't. At least I would certainly hope no one is the same at 18 and 19 that they were when they were 10. Just lies like that. I mean, just way too much pressure. In fact, speaking of grade school, I think... I don't know how high school is now, because I graduated 12, almost 13 years ago. But, God, elementary school, I think they gave us way too much homework. I'm in a university now, and honestly, I've been there about 6 weeks, no, not 6 weeks, I've been there since May, taking 6-week rotations. And let me tell you something, in all my classes combined, I don't think I've even done a fraction of the homework I did, say, when I was in third grade. God, third grade was the worst. I remember, when it came to homework, because I remember my backpack weighed, almost 15 pounds every night. I can remember there were nights where I'd be doing my homework till 10, 11 o'clock at night. It was absolutely ridiculous. Can you just let kids be kids, Why do you need to bombard them with so much homework? I know my mom actually called the school one time. It was over me or my sister. And the school's response was, well, it's a transition year. A transition to what? Third to fourth grade? None of the shit I did in third and fourth grade even matters now. Obviously the basics, math and reading, but, trust me, what was doing all that homework really gonna do? It certainly hasn't done anything now, and honestly, don't even get me started on homework. To my knowledge, there's never been a study that proved that homework, actually increased learning or anything like that. I hate homework. Just let people go home and do what they need to do. Honestly, unless you're a big CEO of some company, you go to work and you come home anyway, and then that's it. That's your time. You're off the clock. Well, I say that because, most CEOs, they have, business laptops and phones, but, yeah. And, yeah, I didn't like all the lies they would tell us. One of my personal favorites was I had somebody try to tell me that I wasn't going to get a girlfriend if I didn't get good grades. What? Let me tell you something. I was definitely not a popular guy with the girls in school, but I can tell you right now, with the girls that did date guys in school, Trust me, it was not their GPA that attracted them to those guys. And you know, that's another thing too. When it comes to dating, I mean, I didn't go on my first real date. Honestly, I was probably about 19 or 20 when I went on my first date. Never had a girlfriend in high school. And you know, that was part of the other problem was I feel like because the school put so much pressure on you to just hurry up and do something, you know, I went through a lot of desperate phases because I almost thought, I mean, I didn't realize this at the time, but I look back on it and wonder if this is how I thought. And I wonder if I just kind of thought to myself, you know, I better hurry up and find somebody or I'm just going to be single forever. And, you know, part of the other problem that didn't help was that, you know, a lot of my friends had gone on dates. I mean, hell, a lot of my friends had sex by the time they were in the early years of high school. And not to give too much away about myself, I mean, but I didn't lose my virginity till I was 22. So, I mean, I turned out okay, you know? But I just feel like there's too much pressure on these kids. Like, you know, another lie that they say that I think's really slimy is they're like, you know, you better go to college or you're just going to be flipping hamburgers the rest of your life. No, you're not. You know, I have to tell you something. I've seen this from both ends of the perspective. I have seen people with master's degrees that are waiting tables. And I'm not ripping on anyone who waits tables. I mean, you do what you got to do to support yourself and your family if you've got one. But, you know, when you go spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a master's degree, you would think that you would do something besides waiting tables, you know? You'd think you'd be in the field that you studied for, whatever that field may be. And, you know, I've seen high school dropouts that are making 6 figures a year. So, God, yeah, I just really feel like our education system is so outdated. I mean, the other thing is I can remember, you know, I loved my step-grandfather. I really did. But I feel like there was a lot of pressure from him, too, to hurry up and find something when I was 21. And unfortunately, I did that. I gave into it because I was always raised, you know, don't rock the boat, don't create waves. So I went to culinary school, and it was the biggest waste of my time ever. I mean, the living in Georgia for a year was great. You know, I think that was a good experience for me, but the education was the biggest waste ever. Like, there was no need for it. I feel like I didn't even really learn too much, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, a lot of it was my own mental blocks, but still, I mean, there was a lot of people that got out of there and was like, yeah, we didn't learn anything. So, and you know, the thing is, like, college at the end of the day is a business, you know? Like, they're going to do whatever they can to get you in there so they can get your money. And yeah, it's just ridiculous. And you know, the other thing is, like I said, my step-grandfather, I mean, he graduated high school in like the late 40s. So the workforce is not, you know, in 2018 is not the same, is nowhere near the same workforce that, you know, he probably had in the 50s and 60s. I mean, I feel like most jobs in the 50s and 60s, even burger flippers, usually made, you know, a livable wage, you know. I mean, yeah, you weren't living a life of luxury, but you at least made enough to support yourself and your family if you had one. But these days, I just feel like, God, and I could do a whole nother rant about why I think the workforce is messed up, but, you know, I just feel like there's almost no incentive to go to. Obviously, you should go to work. I'm not saying be unemployed and just sit on your ass all day, but what I'm saying is, like, you know, back when my grandparents' generation, when they were at work, I mean, there was unions, there was better benefits, more livable wages. These days, it just seems like the cost of living went up, but the amount of income that people make and just stayed the same. And, you know, part of what I've wanted to do this video for a while, but a friend of mine posted a thing last night. It was like a post, I guess it was from Tumblr, where it was talking about Don't feel bad that you haven't accomplished anything in your 20s. And it's so true. I mean, I can remember thinking when I was like 24, 25 years old, I can remember thinking I was one of the biggest losers on the planet because, no girlfriend. I was still living at home paying off student loans. But I just felt like such a loser because I'm like, no marriage, no kids, don't live on my own. Like, what am I doing with my life? And it just didn't make me feel good. And I feel like a lot of it all goes back to the school system. I even had an aunt that said that when she took one of my cousins to like a therapist, even the therapist looked at her and said, the school system does more damage to our kids, than we ever could. And unfortunately, a lot of it is right. That I really do think the school system does way too much damage to our kids. So, and after I looked at that post, I'm like, you know what? This is so right. Seriously, don't feel bad that you haven't accomplished much in your 20s. I mean, you should definitely try your best. Make your 20s count. But I mean, I just got married at 30. Just had my son at 31. I mean, I don't think that made me a loser. I mean, in fact, actually, I'm very glad I didn't get married in my late teens or early 20s. Because I'm so not the same person at 30 and 31 that I was, at 18, 19, 20 years old. In fact, I'm pretty sure that unless I really married the right person, I would say there was a pretty high probability that if I had got married that young, I probably would have been divorced. In fact, I think it's why a lot of my classmates from high school, I think that's why there's some of them that have ex-husbands and ex-wives. I mean, I don't know everybody's story, and I'm not going to pretend to know everybody's story, but I really wouldn't be surprised if it was getting married way too young. Because, like I said, you're not the same. Most of the time, I mean, we all know that one person that has never matured a day in their life since, we knew them. But, yeah, just, God. So, ultimately, where I'm going with this, if you're in the school system, like kindergarten through 12th, I'm just going to say this. Listen, do your best, get good grades, because you should get in the mindset that you always want to do your best. But remember, none of this matters, at the end of the day. I have never been to a job interview where they ask me for my high school transcript. They might want to see a high school diploma, but even then, most of the time, they can just look that up and see whether you graduated or not. I will say graduate high school. That definitely need to do that, because I will say there are a lot of jobs that do require you to have a high school diploma. So definitely do that. College, God. I mean, like I said, I'm at a university. I mean, it's not your traditional four-year university, but it's an accelerated program, which I like that. But God, most of the time these days, I think college is a scam, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, my advice to anybody, and I plan on giving this advice to my son when he's older, is find a skill, like find something you like to do, and just try to build off of it. Get experience, and, turn it into your own business. So, like I said, I could do a whole nother rant another day about why I think the workforce is so flawed. I mean, in fact, as much shade gets thrown out my generation, which is the millennials, we're the most, there's more entrepreneurs in my generation than there have been in years. And I think a lot of it is we're just tired of the bullshit in the workforce. So that's my advice. Just do your best, because you should get in the mindset of always wanting more and doing your best. Or I shouldn't say wanting more so much as wanting to do better and better each time. So, what I'm getting at here is, just do your best. Remember, none of the stuff you do in elementary, middle, and high school matters. I mean, honestly, I haven't even used like a fraction of the stuff I learned in high school. My opinion, I really do think they should be teaching life skills in high school. I think they should teach you things like, how to pay a mortgage, how to do your taxes, how to change the oil in your car, like stuff you're actually going to use in the real world. The way high school is now, I mean, honestly, to me, it just seems like daycare for teenagers. Anyway, guys, what do you guys think? Do you think the school system puts way too much pressure on our kids? Let me know down below, and let me know if you would like to hear me talk about the workforce. Have a good one, everybody.